How's everyone doing? Um, so the original plan was to go live, and that will be the plan most days. Um, just obviously with starting this challenge, this journey, I've also had to, well, I didn't have to, but I decided to create whole new social media accounts, kind of start from fresh. And did not realize, but everyone basically doesn't let you just go on live automatically. But YouTube will allow me to go live starting within 24 hours. So the plan is 3 p.m. Every day, Monday through Friday, and ideally even on the weekends at least. I will be going live on the weekends, probably just 15 to 20 minutes at most, but during the week it will be, the aim is for at least half an hour, if not an hour, going live. Just depends on all that's going on in the day and in the business. So this is day 2 of the business, of the build report, where I am obviously building a business from zero to $100 million in value. So part of the reason why I started to do this is I wanted to kind of outline more of a business. I find a lot of the gurus that you find online typically just give very, very high level stuff. Like for instance, I even just saw one today where it was very much, do this to make, X amount of dollars in like the next, before the end of the year. And within minutes of watching it, it was just like, wow, just so high level, like kind of ridiculous. Like, I mean, to the point where it's basically the same stuff that I'm pretty sure this guru has said about a billion times. And it's really just the titles changed. That's 90% of what has changed. So yeah, I just really want to do this kind of nothing hidden, trying to be as authentic and transparent as possible. And yeah, we'll see where this goes. I think it's very doable. And yeah, let's see how it goes. So basically, to start off, kind of give you an idea what kind of the big picture is. Obviously, the goal is $100 million in value by basically November 2026, beginning of November. I'm not gonna hold everything to a T, like the exact date, because we reach certain targets before or even slightly after. It's still going to be an amazing result, right? You can't really nitpick on the exact goal, but it is very doable, I believe. And then part of the reason too why I also went with a newsletter portfolio. So there's a couple of reasons. I'll go through a few. Like, one is obviously lead flow. Like, I am a strong believer that lead flow is a very, very important thing. I believe I spoke briefly about this in one of my other videos. Don't know if you saw it, but there is an analogy where small businesses, typically the owners focus on everything, right? They do the finances, the sales, the marketing, the lead generation. They do HR, they do operations, everything. And the problem with that is that they're never really good at one thing, for one, but they're always over in multiple different areas of the business. And as you progress, typically bigger businesses, a lot of business owners start to realize that they need to, focus in on certain areas, but typically still don't focus that specifically into one. So often there's like a couple areas that they're typically really focused on. Say it's like marketing, sales, finances, whatever it might be. But really and truly, what billionaires and the ultra wealthy have really determined, that the biggest thing is leads. Once you have leads, you have everything you need, right? You can be a really good salesperson, but if you don't have enough leads coming in, it's not that great. Like, you have to be a really good salesperson, right? Like, think about it. If you have, you know, 5 leads that come in a month and you need 2 to survive, right? Your closing percentage has to be high, right? Almost 50%. But if you have 100 leads coming in a month and you need 2 to survive, you can be terrible at sales. And that's kind of the whole mantra of that, is that you can kind of, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at that point. Like, you will get better, obviously, or you can hire people who are better at sales, right? But the problem is that leads is the main thing. It goes with any department. If you're really good at operations, right, or you're really good at HR, whatever it might be, you you again, it's great to be great at operations and you can run the business well. But if you can't bring in leads and you can't do sales, like, you're now having to perform so well. And there are a lot of businesses that do this, like, you see some that just have this great experience and they do well often with, like, Google reviews, right? Because they do such a great service, have such a great product, because they perform on that end, right? But really and truly, like, if you have amazing amount of leads, you can also have a shitty service and a shitty product, and you will be fine. And I'm not saying go out there, start a business that's shitty. Not at all. But it is one of those, it's a factor, right? Like, you could, and you would survive and you would figure things out, and then you could move on from there. So that's kind of where we're leading with, and that's kind of why I want to lead with a newsletter, because it's basically a lead source, right? You have these people who you are providing, obviously information or whatnot in this newsletter, and they are a constant flow of sales potentially. So, with that being said, another area that I kind of say was like one of my 3 pillars. My 3 pillars basically are lead flow, profit systems, and then leverage. So you will see me discuss this numerous times over the next year, possibly longer, where I will bring up 3 books that I basically kind of use as my just basically my mantra, my belief system. Obviously, like, lead flow, like I said, profit is profit first. That's basically, Profit First by Mike. Oh, I always slaughter his name. It's not Mikowski. But anyhow, it's a great book. I always say that any business owner, doesn't matter what area, what level you're going to get to, even if you like want to be a sole proprietor and just, you're happy with 6 figures or even maybe less, I would suggest always reading the Profit First book. It's kind of like a mandatory for businesses. And then from there, like, moving on to Who Not How by Dan Sullivan, and then 10x is easier than 2x by Dan Sullivan as well too. Those are kind of like my again, kind of like my pillars that I go by. So basically, where we're at right now, where I've gone through, and we will dive deeper into more of the processes tomorrow. Once I can kind of break down we'll get onto my screen and go through everything. But I've decided with a newsletter portfolio, we're going to launch a number of newsletters in the course of this year, but we are starting with a travel newsletter. I just kind of wanted to stay broad and just see where it flows. You never know. Start a travel newsletter, it might develop into something else. It also might, we can niche down into more of a tighter target in traveling potentially as well too, depending on the audience that we start to gather. But we can also stay pretty broad. So basically, in the next 12 months, in the first quarter, what I'm kind of aiming for is to build the audience and build the lead flow engine. And then coming in the second quarter, we would actually start to launch the first monetized offer potentially for the newsletter. And then from there, in the third quarter, we would then start to like optimize systems, automate delivery, all that kind of stuff. And I mean, obviously, there's a lot of stuff that's going to be automated to a certain extent, and we're going to be building within systems. So it's not going to necessarily be not optimized to a certain extent. We're just going to fine tune it for the most part in the third quarter. And then in the fourth quarter, then we're going to look for, we're obviously scaling through teams, partnerships, obviously more newsletters, larger teams, everything's just going to get bigger by that point. And to be honest too, when I say this, like Q1, Q2, Q3, really and truly, all this stuff ideally could be fast tracked. That was kind of also another reason why I really wanted to go with newsletters, because I feel like it's one of those that we could fast track very fast. Didn't want to use fast again. But yeah, so I think there's a lot of benefit to the idea of a newsletter. So today, just basically that's kind of where we're going to start. And tomorrow we'll just kind of build out everything else live. Should be 3:00. I should be good to go live and on YouTube. And we can go from there. I will set a link in YouTube for this, so you guys can follow me along on YouTube if you don't see this on YouTube. As well as one of the first things we're going to do is we're going to build a simple website. And I will post down. I use Hostinger. And I use them for hosting, but also building my websites. And they have great deals. I'll send a link down below if you guys have an interest or need to build a website. Feel free to use that software. So what we'll do is we'll build the website. We'll start kind of getting the process of the newsletter in order. And then we'll probably build out some socials for the new company. I should say that first we have to figure out a name for this newsletter and such. So with that, we would obviously get the website up. I'll get the website up, and then if we don't have a name at that point, I can always change it. Social probably I won't touch until the point of having a name for the newsletter. And that's kind of where we'll go. Kind of a little bit of a slower start or a rough start so far. Yesterday, I found myself rushing to kind of get things out and get my videos out. And then today I was hoping to go live, which would be potentially more ideal. And I think it's also good that I was able to kind of give a little bit more of a higher level overview of like what the next few steps are and what the whole plan is. So this is the plan, and if you're watching the replay and building something for yourself, please drop it in the comments what your goal is, or what your, I should say, 10x goal is. And then you can also obviously join the Build Report newsletter. I'll put a link down here, but it's also in the bio at ryanparker.co. Where you can also join our school community. There's a free community as well that you can obviously join along, and love to hear about anything that you're doing as well too. All right, this is day 2. The build is officially underway, and we've got a long way to go. Day 2, a long way to go. But let's keep building.